Hi everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar. We'll be starting in 5 minutes to allow people to log in. So please be patient and wait for a few minutes while we wait for more participants to come on in. Thank you. Hi everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for dialing in. We're just waiting for more participants to dial in as of right now. We will start at 4:05 p.m. Malaysia or 3:05 Indonesia, which is shortly. So please give us a few minutes while we wait for more participants to come in. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 4:05. We shall be starting our webinar. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for sparing the time to dial into our webinar today. My name is Prashant Tiruchelvam, and I'm the Channel Partnership Manager for HR Easily Malaysia. Today, we at HR Easily would be proud to present to you our webinar entitled Business Setup and Compliance in Indonesia. The purpose of this webinar is for you to get insight on how you can incorporate a legal entity in Indonesia, as well as be mindful of what you need to be aware during the incorporation and after. Our speakers today are partners of HR Easily. First of all is Mr. Asif Hayat of MAM Corporate Solution and Resintia Aska Kusamawati of HR Easily. Mr. Asif is an ACCA certified accountant and the CEO of MAM Solution. He and his firm are currently based in Jakarta. Mr. Asif brings with him his years of professional experience in areas such as audit, business valuation, market entry, financial modeling, data analytics, optimization of capital structures, and other areas. His firm, MAM Corporate Solutions, provide a plethora of services such as accounting, tax, business consulting, as well as legal services. Ms. Restia is our digital sales manager of HR Easily Indonesia. She is a vivacious person with experience in sales and customer service. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, there are some ground rules. All participants' microphones and cameras will be off during the webinar. However, as the subject matter is deep and very complicated, we shall of course open the floor to Q&A at the end of our webinar today. If, however, you would like to raise a question, please feel free to type the question in the Q&A and we shall save it for the end of the webinar and shall answer it. So without further ado, Mr. Asif, if you're ready, please, let's start. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Prashant, for that introduction. And I'm so pleased to be here presenting a very important topic as Indonesia is going through a lot of landmark changes. Indonesia has recently passed an omnibus law which has affected businesses, and they are going to affect the businesses in a positive way. It's going to make them a lot easier to basically establish their presence in Indonesia. So yeah, first of all, I would like to thank HR Easily for organizing this, and I hope we are going to share a lot of interesting information, okay, a lot of useful information. So let's get started. You can see here on this basically table of contents what are we going to go through in this webinar. First of all, we are going to discuss why Indonesia is one of the most favorite country or the destination for the foreign investors. Okay. Apart from that, we are going to discuss about what are the legal entity options are available to business and entrepreneurs, okay, if they want to establish their presence in Indonesia. And then we are going to see what are the compliances needed in Indonesia on monthly, quarterly, or annual basis. Okay. Since our webinar is focusing more on the omnibus law and how it is affecting the foreign investors, so we're also going to see some human resource considerations. We are going to see what are the immigration challenges, okay, and then we are going to see some key highlights from the omnibus law, okay. So without further ado, let's get started and we discuss why Indonesia is one of the most favorite destinations for the entrepreneurs. Okay, so you can see here on the screen, Indonesia is poised to be the fourth biggest economy by 2050. Okay, Indonesia is already making a lot of improvements. Okay, Indonesia has a lot of Indonesia has a big population. Okay, it has a lot of natural resources. So the business opportunities over here are huge. Okay, and that's what foreign investors are looking at, and that's what makes them basically enter the Indonesian market. Okay, so apart from that, Indonesia, as I said, Indonesia has a bigger population, and almost 20% of that is basically considered as MAC, which means middle class and affluent customers, which basically means if businesses are entering the Indonesian market, they have access to a huge pool of customers, okay, both for the services and for the retailers. Okay, so Indonesia is basically a big country with a lot of opportunities. What else do we have? Indonesia is still on the 73rd number when it comes to ease of doing the business. Okay, but it is improving. It is improving, and we expect that it is going to climb up this ladder. Okay, it's going to basically come. The ease of doing business is going to improve. Okay, especially with the passing of the omnibus law. Until recently, we used to have this negative investment list. Okay, so this is one of the examples that I want to give you. So this negative investment list was the list of business activities which were basically closed for the foreign investors, or there was some restriction. Okay, so this has now been replaced by the what we call priority investment list, or positive investment list. Okay, so this is a good news for the foreign investors. Okay, for the foreign businesses, because now they have more options open. They have access to more business activities that they can conduct in Indonesia. Okay, that they could not do before. Similarly, this government is also taking serious steps to make it easier, not only in terms of entering the Indonesian market, but also in terms of running the business over here. And one of the things Indonesian government has introduced is the online single submission system, which basically integrates all the licensing process and makes it online. Okay, so these are few reasons why Indonesia is actually an attractive place. So now I'm going to discuss about what are the legal entity options available to the foreign investors. Okay, so there are three major or main type of entities that can be established in Indonesia. First of all, you have the foreign investment company, which is a suitable option for the foreign investors. Okay, because they can have the direct shareholding in the company. Okay, and then you have the local Indonesian company. This is suitable for the local entrepreneurs, local Indonesians who want to establish their company in Indonesia. And then you have a representative office, which is the third option. Representative office is you cannot conduct the business activities. You cannot generate the income. This is useful for those foreign investors who actually want to conduct some research and survey before actually entering fully into the Indonesian market and before incorporating the foreign investment company. So you can see here what are the restrictions, what are the permitted activities, what are the benefits of each one of them. I would focus on few of these. The foreign investment company, it allows full or partial ownership to the foreign investors. This is something that this is important. Okay, then you have authorized capital and the paid up capital. So the paid up capital for the foreign investment company is 10 billion. Sorry, authorized capital is 10 billion, and 25% of that should be paid up. Okay, and you can see the approximate US dollar figures here. Authorized capital should be $700,000, and the paid up should be approx $175,000, which is significantly higher than the local Indonesian company. Okay, the authorized capital for the local Indonesian company is just 3,500 US dollars, and 25% of that should be paid up, which is around 900 US dollars. Okay, so I would like to bring one more option available to the companies. Okay, looking at the numbers, you might feel as a foreign investor that okay, this is a huge amount of money. Okay, to bring in. So I just want to make this point here that this capital, $175,000, it doesn't have to be injected immediately. Okay, uh, and the businesses actually only have to bring this money in after the establishment of company, and there is no there is no strict time frame available to, I mean, for the companies to, I mean, which dictates when do they have to invest this money. And I also want to highlight another option available to businesses who want to conduct business activities without having a foreign investment company or any company in Indonesia. And that is basically using professional consultancy services to hire employees on their payroll. Okay, and then they can, their employees can conduct the activities. So these are the three major business activity, sorry, major three company options available, legal entity options available in the Indonesia. Okay, so let's continue with compliance. Okay, what are the compliance regulations? Okay, in Indonesia, Indonesia is known for, you know, a lot of monthly, quarterly, and annual compliance requirements. One of, I mean, you can see on the screen now. So there is a taxation, and there is a list of different types of taxes. You have Article 21, 23, Article 26, 42. Okay, and then you have foreign investment report or investment report, you can say. Then you have corporate taxation, and then you have a social security compliance. Okay, so I'm going to go through each one of them briefly. Okay, because of the shortage of time, of course, we cannot go through every single detail because that's going to take a lot of time. So the one of the most important taxes in Indonesia is the Article 21. Okay, or we call it PPS 21. This is the withholding tax, where companies, when they are paying the salaries to the employees, they have to withhold tax, okay, before they transfer the salaries to employees. So I think this is very relevant for local companies or foreign companies because every company needs to have employees. Okay, so you can see here that this is a progressive tax, okay, and it depends on how much is the salary. Up to 50 million, the taxation rate is 5%, and then it goes up to maximum 30% tax, and then it has to be done on the monthly basis, and it has to be filed on monthly basis. You can see the deadlines. The tax payment deadline is 10th of the following month, and the tax return filing deadline is 20th of the following month. So this is one of the taxes or one of the monthly compliance needed of the companies who are actually operating in Indonesia and have employees. Okay, so this is Article 21. This is the first tax. Then you have Article 23, PPS 23. So this is again, it is the taxation on the income types such as dividends. Okay, if the companies are paying the dividends, interest, royalties, or management consulting services fee. So whenever you have these kind of incomes, then the taxation rate can be either 15% or 2%. And then you can see on the deadline to file this tax is 10th of the following month, and the return filing deadline is 20th of the following month. Okay, then you have the next type of tax, which is Article 26. Okay, and this is basically if the payments are being made to the non-residents. Okay, so if, for example, if the dividends or the interest payments are going overseas, So overseas payments are being made. So the withholding tax rate is 20%. Okay, there is no change in the deadline for the tax payment and the return filing deadline. It is the same 10th of the following month and 20th of the following month. Okay, then we have Article 4.2. Now, what is Article 4.2? This is the final tax basically. What is meant by final tax is that it cannot be credited at the end of the year. Okay, when we are doing the annual filing, this tax cannot be credited, unlike other tax or other taxes. So, what are the type of incomes that fall under TPH 4.2 or Article 4.2? You can see here rental on the land and buildings. You have 10% rate. Okay, then you have the, for example, construction work. It can range from 2 to 6%, interest 20%, and then interest on bond 15%, and so on. So this taxation depends on what is the type of income. Okay. For the deadlines, again, there is no change. The tax payment deadline is 10th of the following month, and the return filing deadline is 20th of the following month. Let's continue. Then we have the VAT. Okay, VAT is organizations are not required or obliged to register for the VAT unless their turnover is exceeding 4.8 billion rupiah, or in US dollars approximately 330,000 US dollars. Okay, so but if the companies choose, they can still register even if their turnover is below this threshold. So what is the VAT rate? VAT rate, standard rate is 10%, but then you have some goods and services which are exempt, then you have 0% VAT rate on them. What is the deadline for the tax payment and to file the return? It is the last date of the following month. Okay, both the tax payment deadline and the return filing deadline. So it is the last date of the following month. So this is something, again, businesses need to be aware of, and if their turnover is exceeding this threshold, then they are obliged to basically register for the VAT, okay, and start the VAT compliance. Continuing on, then you have the annual corporate tax rate. At the moment, it is 22%. Okay, but this rate is going to reduce to 20% from 2022 and onward. Okay, so again, a good news for the companies. What are the deadlines? Actually, this time is actually quite important for companies now, as we are in March, and April next month is actually the deadline for most companies with year-end 31st December to basically file their taxes. So what is the tax payment deadline? It is fourth month after the financial year end, which means end of April for those companies that have a year-end 31st December. And the return filing deadline is also same, fourth month after the financial year end. Okay, so this is one of the compliance needed of the companies in Indonesia. Then what do we have? We have investment activity report. This is again very important, and if the businesses are not doing this, they can actually face some penalties. Okay, so what is investment activity report? Investment activity report is basically a report where businesses have to regularly report on their what assets have been purchased, okay, what new investments have been made, okay, on how many number of employees they have, okay, how much investment has been realized, and so on. So all these kind of matters related to investment and employees and assets, they have to report on a regular basis. Okay, now uh, there are two different, you can say, categories here. Okay, so there are businesses that have investment value between 50 million to 500 million. Okay, which in US dollar means from around 3,500 US dollars to 35,000 US dollars. Okay, so if the investment value of a company is between these two ranges, then they have to do the LKPM report filing twice a year. Okay, so the first 6 months, Jan to June, they have to file at the 10th of the following month after the end of the 6 months, which is 10th of July. Okay, and then from July to December, this is another 6 months, and the deadline to file the LKPM is 10th of the next month, which basically falls January next year. Okay, similarly, there are those businesses that have investment value more than 500 million. Okay, for those companies, they have to report LKPM. They have to file LKPM 4 times a year. Okay, so on quarterly basis. So there are 4 quarters: Jan to March, and then April to June, July to September, and October to December. And the deadline is same. It is 10th of the following month. Yeah. So this is again one of the compliances needed in Indonesia. Then you have BPJS, which is a social security system. Okay, it is equivalent of national insurance contribution system in several countries. So what do we have in under BPJS or BPJS? We have two different categories of BPJS. One of them is manpower, okay, which basically gives the security or protection to employees if they're working for a company. And that protection can actually be categorized into 4 different types. So you have JHT, you have JKK, JK, and JP. So that stands for, actually, one of them is old age protection. Then you have if the employee meets an accident at work, okay. Then you have death protection, and then you have pension, okay. So these are the 4 different protections available to employees. Any company that has hired employees in Indonesia, they must register their employees under this system, and they must basically contribute. Now, what are the contribution rates? So the contribution rates are different for the employer and different for the employee. So, for example, for the accident at work, there is no contribution needed from employee. However, for the employer, you have a rate from 0.24% to 1.74%, depending on how risky is the work, because there are some jobs that have a higher probability or higher risk of accidents than others. Okay, so this rate will actually differ. Then you have JK, death insurance, that is 0.3% paid by employer, nothing by employee. Then you have old age protection, 3.7% by employer and 2% by employee. And pension is 2% by employer and 1% by employee. And these percentages are the percentage of the regular salary. Okay. What is the deadline? The deadline is 15th of the following month. Okay. Then the second category of the BPJS is the BPJS health. Okay, so this is the, you can say, is a medical insurance. Okay, so what is this medical insurance? You have it basically covers your health care, and 4% has to be borne by the employer, and 1% has to be borne by the employee. The deadline is the 10th of the same month. Okay, so again, you can see here that there is a lot of monthly compliance needed by the companies who actually wish to establish their presence in Indonesia, and if you have hired your employee. Okay, then now let's discuss about what are the immigration challenges. Okay, what are the things that need to be considered from the human resource perspective, okay, if you're a foreign investor and you want to establish a company in Indonesia, okay, so what are the things that you have to consider? Okay, so there is a requirement uh, by the Indonesian law that if you are a company and hiring a foreign employee, okay, then you need to have a plan to basically transfer the skills, the foreign skills, to the local Indonesians. Okay, so there has to be someone local in your company that can actually learn from the foreigner. Okay, so this is something mandatory. Okay, then if you are hiring someone and if the company is sponsoring the work permit for a foreigner, then there is also a requirement to pay $100 every month to the Ministry of Human Resource. So that is additional cost. Then you have to have minimum paid up capital of 1 billion, okay, which is approximately equal to $70,000 if you want to hire any employee. Okay, so you can say that small companies, they actually cannot hire the foreigners. Okay, you need to have paid up capital of at least $70,000. Then you have the work permit itself. Applying the work permit, it takes quite a time. Okay, it's a time-consuming process, long process, needs a lot of approvals, especially from the Ministry of Human Resource. And this is because the the government actually wants to protect the local workforce. Okay, they want the companies to give priority to the local employees, and if you cannot find the skills, only then you can hire from the foreign countries. Then you have in specifically current situation, all the work permits are closed, okay, due to the pandemic, and no work permit applications are being accepted. Okay, so these are some of the things that must be considered. Uh, then let's look at the omnibus law, how it has, uh, how is it affecting the foreign investors? Okay, and what do we have in the new list, what we call the priority investment list or positive investment list? Okay, so I'm going to highlight some of the key points from the omnibus law. First of all, what is omnibus law? Omnibus law is a recent law that has been passed, which has simplified the long process of establishing the company for the foreigners. It has simplified and it has made it easier for the foreign companies to establish their presence. Okay, and it has replaced the earlier more strict or restrictive negative investment list. Okay, so these are some of the areas. Okay, these are some of the areas that are open now that were closed for the foreign investment. You can see here for the telecommunication, a major area business sector. It is now open 100% for the foreign investors. Then you have the health sector, hospitals and the other wholesale of pharmaceuticals. It is 100% open for the foreign investors. And then you have the energy and mineral resources. It's 100% open for the foreign investors. Construction, trading, transportation, all of these sectors were previously closed for the foreign investors, but now they are open. Okay, so a lot of opportunities for the foreign investors. Now you can see again plantation and agriculture, and then we have the press publication of newspaper. It is also 100% open, although for the press there are some requirements here that you need to have. Need to have a domestic capital as well. Okay, so a lot of sectors are now open to the foreign investment. Now, what are the business activities which are closed for everyone? Everyone means for the foreign investors as well as local Indonesian companies. Okay, so this is a list of 7 those activities which are basically prohibited. Okay, no one can do. So these are very specific activities such as narcotics, drugs, weapon manufacturing. Okay, gambling, casinos, and then capturing the endangered species. Okay, and then you have the alcoholic drinks and wines. So this is a list of 7 activities which are prohibited, which cannot be done by the foreign investors or by the local employees. Okay, so this is again something to note. Now, after discussing all of this, okay, you might be thinking, oh, that's you know, a lot of compliance is needed. Okay, quite difficult for the foreign investors to basically enter the Indonesian market. But let's not forget the opportunities we have here. Okay, as I said, Indonesia is a big country and a lot of customers here, a big population. Okay, a lot of natural resources. Okay, to exploit. Okay, so we as MAM Solution, we provide end-to-end services to our clients from Indonesia as well as foreign countries. We provide them services from market entry, navigating the complex rules to establish their businesses in Indonesia, to accounting, bookkeeping, management consulting, even the immigration. And one of the things that I want to specifically highlight is the payroll and EOR service, which is basically if you don't have a legal entity just yet in Indonesia, so what we can do is we can actually take your employees on our payroll. Okay, so this is something that we can also do. Now we have a lot of partners in Indonesia and abroad. Not to forget the HR Easily, one of our important partners. We have partners with DBS, we have Euro, and several others. We are members of several professional bodies, both from Indonesia and abroad. Okay, so we can basically take care of your all monthly, annual, or quarterly compliance needs. So that is basically from me. I would let Mr. Prashant jump in.
Thank you, Pak Asif. That was a very informative and very comprehensive presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, I bet there's a lot of questions that you would like to know. Don't worry, we have captured all your questions and are processing them. We will raise them and answer all of them at the end of the Q&A after this. However, before we go into the Q&A, allow me to now introduce Bu Resintia Aksa Kusamawati, who is my colleague in Indonesia, to explain a bit about HR Easily.
Hello, Pak Person. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem. Take it away, Tia.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining the webinar today. Thank you, Pak Asif, for the great insight on the Indonesia business setup and compliance. And we don't want you to have a lonely journey to set up your business in here. And we would like to introduce a bit about who is HR Easily. So HR Easily is the fastest growing HR tech startup in Southeast Asia. We understand that as businesses grow, human resource management grows in complexity. At HR Easily, we focus on the only resource that matters, people. And we are a software as service platform for HR work processes such as payroll processing, leave management, claim applications, time attendance, and more. And our success story has been relying on people, automation, and strategic partnership. Some of our partnership we partnered are companies like MAM Corporate Solutions with Pak Asif, Zero Accounting, Mazars, UOB Bank, and others to make sure an easy setup and help foreign companies in expanding their business in Indonesia. And the good news is we also operate in 8 different countries in Southeast Asia, and our platform enables businesses to integrate their branches across SEA countries only in one single platform. And hence always become the first choice for many ambitious businesses to grow beyond the borders with us in mind. We know that with the progress of digitalization ever escalating during this pandemic, It is truly made possible that our workforce can be managed differently and far more cost effectively with automation and convenience provided by our platform. And when it comes to business setup and compliance, look no further for Pa Asif and his business, MAM Corporate Solutions. But if you are interested in managing workforce remotely and cost effectively, look for HR Easily, and we will be at your service to provide you free education on this matter. So thank you so much. I hope you have a very good insight and find it beneficial for today's session. Over to you, Pak Prasant.
Hi, Tia. Thank you so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be starting the Q&A portion of our webinar today. We already have some questions available. Now, please feel free to type in your questions and we shall be answering them live. The first question that we have, Pak Asif, I think this is directed to you, is from Mr. Muhammad Sayad. Hi, for any business, do we need to bring in 2.5 billion Indonesia rupees? I think that is the threshold. I believe the question that it is, Mr. Sayad, if you could clarify a bit more, that'll be great. But for now, the question is, for any business, do they need to bring 2.5 billion IDR? Pak Asif, can you please answer that?
Sure. I think this is some of the. I mean, this is one of the things is regularly asked by the clients or potential clients who want to establish a presence. So this is something when they look at. For example, let me go back to the slide. So it says that there is a 2.5
billion.
2.5 billion. So basically what happens is businesses, they don't have to invest. Actually, they cannot invest technically when the incorporation process is being done, but because the bank account only opens after the incorporation is done. So there's no way the investors are required to bring in immediately. Okay. Then the question comes, then how the incorporation happens. So foreign investors, they have to, or the shareholders, they have to sign a statement letter, okay, committing that, okay, in the future, we are going to bring in the foreign investment, okay. But then the question is there any deadline? Is there any time limit? Do we have to bring the money in as an investment? So the answer is no. Some businesses, I mean, it's preferred and it's better that investors bring in the money as soon as possible. But we know businesses that take more than 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years to basically slowly bring in the foreign investment. So I hope that answers the question.
Right. Thank you, Pak Asif. The next question is actually an interesting one. Article 21, which you had put in your slide earlier, regarding withholding tax, is it applicable for local and foreign staff?
That's correct. The Article 21 is applicable to, the short answer is yes, Article 21 is applicable to foreign and local employees.
I see, understood. All right. The next question, sir, is with the COVID pandemic, what will be growing economic sectors in Indonesia aside from medical or medical-based industries? Is there any idea of what type of industries will be growing even with COVID being rampant and still ongoing?
Yes, actually, IT sector is quite is growing fast. As you know, a lot of people are working from home, and then we have we need this. The employees need this to communicate, and then you have cosmetics. This is something that we are looking at very regularly. Inquiries. The cosmetics is a growing industry. Apart from that, the food and beverage. I think these are the three key sectors that are growing apart from the one that you mentioned during the pandemic.
I see. Excellent. That's good to know. The next question is the VAT constant throughout the years?
VAT is constant throughout the year. Can you elaborate?
Throughout the years, yeah. No, that is the question only. Is the VAT?
I mean, if you have the rate, if you mean by the rate, then yes, it is a standard rate. There is no change in the rate. So there is a standard rate, flat 10%. But then there are some goods and services which are exempt, as I mentioned in my presentation also, that have 0% rate.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Next question is actually a two-pronged question. From a global perspective, and with the growth of remote working, do you think that one, OPEX costing will reduce for companies that are based in Indonesia or are moving to Indonesia? OPEX, I believe, meaning operational costing. Will it be reduced for Indonesia with remote working?
Yeah, actually, this is quite obvious, I would say, especially when the businesses are they are not. One of the biggest costs for the companies is to have a physical office in the when they are operating. So due to pandemic, all companies have moved to working from home. So I think this has really led to one of the significant expenses for the companies, and also on operational basis for the running of the offices, utilities, and that kind of expense has also been reduced.
I see. So with that being said, the second part of the question, which deals with remote working, how would remote working from outside Indonesia impact taxation on individuals as well as corporations?
Okay, so that has no single answer. I would say it depends on a lot of factors. Are you Indonesian or you are a foreigner? Okay, so for example, Indonesia has a taxation on the global income. Okay, but then let's say you are based in Singapore and you are tax resident in Singapore, then you have a different treatment because you have to pay your taxes in Singapore. Okay, and then it also comes down to double tax agreement or treaties. So if you are based in Singapore and you are tax resident in Singapore, then you are going to pay the taxes in Singapore and not in Indonesia. So I think that it depends on a lot of factors. I think there is no one. It has to be looked at case by case. What is the tax residency status of the employees and where are they based? So yeah.
I see. Thank you so much, Mr. Asif. The next question, there are two questions actually from Ms. Stephanie Shah. The first question, can we employ project engineers to work in the factory if we have an RO office? I assume RO means remote office. Can they conduct business that way? Are they able to employ project engineers to work in a factory when they have a remote office?
Yes, actually the virtual office is only prohibited for certain activities such as tourism, okay, such as those activities that need warehouse, okay. But apart from that, virtual office actually can be used by almost all the companies, and therefore engineers can be hired.
I see. Thank you. Her second question is, what is the procedure to resolve a remote office? Will it be easy to open? Is it also easy to close? Would you be able to share that?
Yeah, so basically it takes around 2 to 3 weeks to establish a representative office, and it is easier to establish a representative office compared to other entities such as foreign investment company and local innovation company. But when it comes to closure, then there has to be a letter. We have to get a letter, closing letter from the online single submission. Okay, and that basically closes the representative office. So there are no lengthy processes.
I see. Thank you. The next question from Mr. Kenny Sim. Is there a ratio of local versus foreign employees required for a company in Indonesia?
Yeah. Okay. So basically, there is the law says it has to be 1 to 10. Okay, but I would say that this is really in practice there is no strict implementation, I would say, to this law. Okay, as long as you can show 1 employee or 2 employees, you can actually hire the foreigner in your company. So I would say it's as long as you have some local employees, then you can hire the foreigner. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. The next question, sir, is how can a startup company from Singapore start in Indonesia when they can't pay the minimum paid up capital?
Okay. So I think this is again the same kind of question. Even if you're a startup and you don't have to invest the 2.5 billion, as I said, immediately. Okay. Uh, what happens is after you establish the company, you have to open the bank account after the incorporation. So only then you will be able to invest the money. Okay, so uh, there is no deadline to invest 2.5 billion, as I said earlier. So I think that's basically what I can say in this case.
All right. Mr. Asif, we'll be going back to one of the earlier questions raised by Ms. Stephanie Shah. It wasn't a remote office. What she meant was a representative office.
Okay.
Representative office. So let me use that same question again, but use substitute for representative.
Yeah.
Can she employ project engineers to work in a factory if they have a representative office?
Yes, that they can hire. If they have the representative office, they can hire an employee. Yeah.
All right. So yes, Ms. Stephanie, it can be done. All right. The next question is from Henry Lee. It is VAT in Indonesia. Right now, we have set up a local office, and it's a PMA company. The investment in equipment assets will come in late December 21. This means that the VAT will only kick off in January 2022.
Yeah.
Is his assumption correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, that is correct, Mr. Henry Lee. All right. The next question is, should we have a legal entity before hiring in Indonesia?
Should we have a legal entity? Again, I think that this question goes back to our discussion of the one of our services, employer of record. Okay, so if you have no legal entity in Indonesia, then you can still have employees in Indonesia by actually hiring them on the payroll of a different company. Okay, which is known as employer of record service, and this is quite common, I would say, where and we do also provide this service. So we have foreign clients. Sometimes they are hesitant to establish their legal entity in Indonesia because of the compliances, or so instead of establishing your own company, you can have your employees on the payroll of a different company.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. The next question is, could you please explain more on the EOR? I repeat, the EOR as an alternative of setting up in Indonesia.
Yeah, so basically what happens is in EOR service, we take care of all the employment related matters of the clients. So from hiring the employees on the payroll, from monthly compliances, we file their taxes, we withhold the taxes. Okay, and basically employees are on our payroll. Okay, so we have an agreement with our client. Okay, so these are your employees, but we have hired them for you. So yeah, so that's basically, so we will have an employment contract with the employees. We will sign them, and yeah, so we will do all the monthly compliance for all the employees.
Right. Great. Thank you, sir. The next question is, how from Mr. Henrik Michael, how often are PMA companies reviewed by the investment board? Can the license be revoked if the investment targets are not met?
Actually, we have not come across such a company that has the license revoked. Okay. Now there are several reasons why. One of the major reasons here is Indonesia is currently looking at foreign investment. They want to attract the foreign investment, so they don't want to hinder any, or they don't want to make it difficult for the company. So they are allowing the foreign investment companies to take some time to bring in the capital and not revoke the licenses. Okay, but it is still at the discretion of the foreign investment board. Okay. If they find there's something wrong with the company, or if you're not complying in terms of other compliances like monthly compliance, you're not reporting the tax. Okay, so in that case, you will be flagged. Okay, but there is no there is no such thing as a regular inspection done by that. It is all, if it is to be done, it will be done on a random basis.
I see. I see. So to expand on Mr. Henrik's question, assume that we have opened an investment company in Indonesia. Do I need to clarify what are the investments that I want to make in? Like for example, you said cosmetic industry is growing in Indonesia.
Yes.
Because of that, I've opened up an investment company to go into cosmetics. However, halfway during it, I pivot and go into something else. Let's say manufacturing of couches.
Yes.
So I've essentially changed the purpose of my investment. Will that raise a red flag in that sense?
It will not raise. I mean, it will not raise a red flag. It will just involve certain procedure. Every business activity has a separate code in Indonesia. We call it KBLI. We call it KBLI. So once you incorporate your company, you have to mention your specific business activity, the specific code. But if you change your mind later on, there is no red flag. The only thing you'll have to do is you'll have to change your company documents and to include your new business activity in your company documents. So one of the advice we give to our clients is if they are entering into the Indonesian market, if they want to establish the company, they think through, because changing the company documents is as good as establishing a new company, because it involves editing all the company documents, tax offices, and yeah. So I think it's better to uh, think before you establish. But if you want to change after you have established, it's still possible, and there's no problem in that.
Right. Thank you, sir. The next question that comes up is there a quarterly filing option for VAT?
There is monthly filing option, but there's no quarterly option.
Right. Okay. The next question is, what is the minimum wage requirement for Jakarta under the Omnibus Law?
This actually in Indonesia, different regions have different minimum wages. Okay, in Jakarta, I would say it is around 4.4 million. 4.4 million. Yeah, the gross amount. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Let me go back to this. All right. So the next question is, apart from the one from BJPS,
Yeah.
is there any minimum requirement of HR policies/benefits for the employees based on the Employment Act?
There are certain requirements that have to be met, but those are included in the employment contract. So there is a minimum to, for example, how many minimum number of holidays you are allowing your employees. So the minimum number of days you have to employ your minimum number of days you allow your employees is 12 days. Although there is no maximum, some companies will have more than the 12 days, and then you can have maternal leaves. Okay. Then you have also THR. THR is basically festival allowance, religious festival allowance, which basically means you have to pay your employees 13 months salary in 1 year. And what is this 13th month salary? It is basically a one extra month paid to employees before the religious festivals like Eid al-Fitr for the Muslims or Christmas for the Christians. So they have to comply with this.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, I would say this is a quite detailed law, and yeah, there's a lot of things to basically discuss when we are making the employment contract. Yeah.
Understand, sir. Understand. All right. So we have a question, Pak Asif, from Webpact. I am in the IT sector. Is there any government support for foreigners to invest or open company?
Yes, there are tax holiday and allowances available, but they are especially for the capital intensive industries. It's not available to, you can say, so minimum capital required for in order to qualify for such tax holidays and allowances is 100 billion. So it's quite a big amount. So for those companies, yes, there is a tax holiday and allowance available.
When you say 100 million, you're referring to 100 million Indonesia rupee, correct?
100 billion, yes. 100 billion Indonesian rupiah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Right. The last question is companies dealing with telecommunication device. Are there any licensing required as a company in Indonesia besides those required prior to importation?
Sorry, I didn't get that question.
Right. Let me repeat that question. So company dealing with telecommunication device, is there any other licensing requirement as a company in Indonesia besides those required prior to importation, importing prior to importation? Sorry about that, slip of the tongue. So essentially,
So
I think the question, the crux of the question is, before I import a piece of technology, telecommunication device from Indonesia, I know I have prior to importing it, I've got certain rules and regulations. Now I brought it in. Do I
yeah,
have other licensing requirements that I need to follow?
actually, we will have to check the particular IT equipment. We'll have to check that KBLI. Only then we can actually see, because different even different IT equipments, they have different licensing requirements. So we will have to
Okay,
see on the case by case basis.
I see. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Fair enough. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for answering those questions. Ladies and gentlemen, we still have a few minutes left. If you do have any more questions, please feel free to type it in, and Pak Asif will be more than happy to answer it.
So,
No problem. I think no one has any questions as of yet.
okay. So
Uh,
are we
Pak
going to
Asif,
take a selfie with the participant?
sure, sure. Let's do that. Ladies and gentlemen, we love if you could, if we could turn on the cameras and let's take a selfie for with all the participants. Tia, if you would, Erica, please turn on your cameras. Let's see if we can take a picture with all the participants. If everyone could just turn on their cameras and please show yourself. We love to take an image just to capture this webinar. Miss Stephanie doesn't have a camera. That's okay, Miss Stephanie. However, we hope we are able to answer all your questions. Of course, if you'd like to get in touch with Pak Asif, not a problem. I think he'll be more than happy to facilitate any other queries that you may have on setting up your company or problems that you may have in your incorporation in Indonesia. As you can see, we have a call to action where you can get in touch with MAM Corporate Solution as well as HR Easily in Indonesia.
So just let us know. You can send us an email, and then we'll be happy to assist.
Exactly. Let's see, change the view. Yeah. No, I don't think there will be a lot of camera turning on at this point, and but that's okay. But that's okay. Pak Asif, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for sharing with us all that information regarding incorporation in Indonesia. I think a lot of people can walk away with the info needed. They may need some time to digest that info.
So,
Ladies and gentlemen who attended our webinar, we will be more than happy to share the details of the deck with you for you to refer and consider with Pak Asif and Tia's contact details should you have any other further questions that are not coming up. On behalf of HR Easily, we truly appreciate all the time and giving us the privilege of sharing with you our webinar. We'll be hosting a lot more webinars in the coming future. Stay in touch with us. Follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, among others. We have each one for different countries. We'll be hoping to hear from you in the future. And I will be ending this webinar very shortly. Thank you all for your time. Pak Asif, on behalf of HR Easily, thank you so much for your
my
time.
pleasure, Mr. Prashant, and thank you everyone for joining, and thank you SRTV for organizing this, and we are looking forward to more such webinars in the future.
Us too, sir. Tia, thank you. Restia, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
Quite
so much.
informative. Appreciate it. So since there's no other questions and no other queries, we shall be ending this webinar. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Stay well and stay safe. Thank you. Right. Let's see. We're about to.